in a game that Leicester thought they had the lead in when Kelechi Iheanacho curled in beautifully. The new handball rule, the tightest of calls, the hardest of calls, saw the strike disallowed, and then 30 minutes from time, Jamal Lewis scored his first Premier League goal in blistering fashion, and that was the difference. Norwich 1, Leicester 0. Tony Gotti, you can see some of the Norwich players are out here, they've given everything. Leicester won't believe they've lost the game, but they have.
No, they won't. It's a hugely disappointing result, massive result for Norwich. Gives them a fighting chance of maybe the big miracle happening. Just interesting at the final whistle there was at least 3 Leicester players surrounding Craig Paulson and the officials, Johnny Evans, James Maddison and a few others as well, just saying, why on earth have you disallowed that goal? And that will be the talking point again in the morning and after the match and analysed, and because that would have really changed the game, and it would have been a completely different match. But the Leicester players, they're trudging off now, and it's hard to say how damaging a result that is, but to lose to the bottom team in the Premier League is not a good result, and they're going to be sitting in that dressing room scratching their heads saying, boys, how have we lost that? And if you don't play well, I didn't think Leicester played particularly well tonight. At times there was a couple of good moves. If you don't play well, get a draw, nick a draw, and they haven't even managed to do that, so a massively disappointing result for Leicester.
So I've got to ask you for your Leicester man of the matches. James Maddison and Daniel Farke exchange a nice hug. Farke really central to Maddison's career when he was here. It's very nice to see. Maddison goes over to the travelling fans and applauds them. But your Leicester man of the match.
It's a difficult one, Chris, really, because as I say, I think going forward, it's hard to give it to anyone in that final third, because that's where they let themselves down. Ricardo was decent, but I'm going to give it to Johnny Evans. I thought defensively he had a really good game. He was solid tonight, and he did as much as he could for the cause, but it was just disappointing. I can't really find a forward player to give the award to, and that pretty much tells you everything you need to know.
Norwich are still celebrating this win. Not many have left Carrow Road. They had only won 4 Premier League games until tonight, but they have beaten Leicester here. James Maddison is doing a lap of honour here, the former Norwich man, and he is being applauded by everybody. He'll be bitterly disappointed, but it's very nice to see from James Maddison's perspective. A disappointing night for the Foxes, though. Full-time score at Carrow Road. Norwich 1, Leicester 0.
Thanks, Chris. Desperately disappointing evening for Leicester City at Carrow Road. We'll have all the post-match reaction for you. We'll try and hear from some of those involved, and manager Brendan Rodgers over the next 45 minutes or so here on LCFC Radio. In the studio, we're joined by Matt Elliott, Jerry Taggart and Ewan Roberts. Ewan, we said at the start of the day you were a bit on the fence. You didn't know exactly where you wanted to go. Obviously, hugely disappointing night for Leicester. But for one of your other old teams, Norwich, a massive result.
It is a massive win. It's a lifeline for them. They need to go and build on that now. From a Leicester point of view, it is a massive body blow. I still think the club will finish in the top 4. Had plenty of the ball, plenty of possession. Just found it hard to break that resilient Norwich defence down. They were very organised. They were very disciplined in their defence, and just couldn't really get any sort of efforts on goal. I think the game changed with the disallowed goal. I think it's a shocking decision, and I think that's why the rules need to be changed. He's gained no advantage by that ball coming off his hand, and he's still had a lot to do. Iheanacho, it's a terrific finish, fantastic goal. Very, very harsh to be disallowed. Because had Leicester scored first, I would have firmly believed they'd have gone on to win the game, because Norwich haven't come back in a game when they've gone behind. But then when they've gone ahead, and a fantastic goal it was by Jamal Lewis. He doesn't score too many. I think that's only his first league goal for the club. I think he scored in the FA Cup. But it was always going to be tough then to break that Norwich defence down.
Yeah, we've got lots of comments coming in. We'll get through as many of them as possible. John says backwards, sideways, backwards. You get the picture. Joe says this lack of confidence to do what we were doing in the first half of the season is killing us. Alan says Norwich, great escape season now on. Well played them. poor from Leicester tonight. Matt, at the break we were talking about the one word for Leicester was clinical. Second half, they didn't really have any opportunities to be clinical.
No, and I think they paid the price for not capitalising on those decent situations that they had in the first half. We talked about it, maybe coming back to bite them, and that proved to be the case. Whether it was a mistake or a cross and someone gets on the end of, or a piece of quality, rare quality, from any player really on the pitch in the areas where it counted, with the goal. The goal, wasn't it? And what a strike it was. But you can't expect Premier League players to not produce some quality at some stage. Hope that the shot doesn't bend round at world level, if you want, round Pereira, who's closing down. Schmeichel's got no chance just inside the far post. The capability is there for them to produce it, and I think Leicester did enough on the goal. Ben Chilwell in particular, even Ricardo maybe being a little bit harsh, could have closed down a little bit more tenaciously. But I wouldn't say the confidence is draining, but it's reducing, as is the conviction in their play, isn't it? And I just think that swagger that was there isn't there at the moment. They need to, bring that edge. Probably the best way I can describe it. I don't know. There's just little bits and pieces. It's all a bit nice. And I don't know if it was a gentleman or a lady who put that message in. Sideways,
John.
back. The odd one forward without too much confidence. It was a regular theme in the second half. And Norwich must be really surprised at how they were able to go about their work in that game, because I thought it was all defendable. Okay, in terms of playing against Leicester, okay, if you work hard and get your shape, then you're going to go a long way to nullifying Leicester the way they're playing tonight. So there's no time to panic or anything like that, but it was a bad defeat, to be fair.
The thing for Leicester here, Tags, in the next couple of games, they're going to be facing teams similar to Norwich in the way they set up and the way they fight, like Norwich fought tonight.
Absolutely. And full credit to Norwich. They give Leicester a similar type of game as what they give them here in the return fixture. I'm not saying they were well worth the win, but I think definitely the Iheanacho disallowed goal took the stuffing out of Leicester somewhat, and totally agree with what Matt said and that personing, and that sort of forced Leicester into a game of football that Norwich were comfortable with. Very unlucky for me and Nacho. I'm not going to go into the rules and VAR because I get myself all upset and angry, and I don't want to do that. I don't think any team really deserved to win that game. I think a draw probably would have been a fair result at the end of it. But I think the game swung massively on the disallowed goal. Listen, I'm glad the two Northern Irish guys on the pitch tonight did really well, but obviously I didn't want Jamal Lewis to do that well. Do you know what I mean? You're talking about Pele, Johan Cruyff, Cristiano Ronaldo, Roberto Carlos, Tony Cottee. They're the types of people that score them goals, not Jamal Lewis. That is a once-in-a-lifetime strike. And what's a strike? And at the end of it all, that's what Leicester were beat by. A once-in-a-lifetime strike. And we'll run over everything else about the game, the missed opportunities, the disallowed goal, the lack of incisive play, the lack of tempo, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, they lost the game to a world-class finish. I'm not talking about a world-class player, a world-class finish.
Let's talk about that pressure you just mentioned. Lee's been in touch saying, I want to see Leicester pressing high and fast again. We're letting teams have too much time on the ball. Let's bring Tony back in from Carrow Road. Was that a real factor tonight, Tony, that intensity without the ball?
Yeah, I think so. I think it comes from the front. it's a bit of a dilemma with Iheanacho, because he's one of these, he's not really going to press too much from the front. Obviously Jamie was injured tonight. That makes a big difference and a big blow to the club in terms of attacking options. But I think it's got to be something that Brendan looks at the end of the season in terms of forward players. You know, I think if you play one player up front, you need to have 3 good forwards at the club. And, you know, you've got Iheanacho, you've got Vardy. I think they need one more forward, and the lack of options, because he couldn't bring anyone on. There wasn't a forward really on the bench who could come on and play alongside Iheanacho, who could make a difference. And the midfield players were struggling. You know, Maddison was in and out the game. Harvey Barnes, he looked really, really quick and strong and powerful, but the end product wasn't there. You know, and it just applied to all the players. You know, Chris asked me for the man of the match. I've given it to the centre half, and I don't want to do that. I hate giving it to centre half, so that with greatest respect to the boys in the studio, but you want to give it to the forward players, because you then feel like you've won the game and you've created chances and you've scored goals. And you know, Leicester huffed and puffed a little bit, but the lack of options up front. And I've got to say as well, I was just a bit disappointed that he didn't put Johnny Evans or Soyuncu up front, just to try something different in the last 5 minutes. You know, the boys, you know, Tags and Matt, you know, if we was losing or chasing a game, you stick a centre half up there, try and make it happen. They get putting crosses in, and there was one player in the box with 5 defenders around him, and you're never going to score when it's like that. So a lot of disappointing things from a forward and a midfield creation point of view.
Ian says, Jerry, you only get a world-class finish if you have time to create it. And that's something...
You still got to finish it off.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much time and space, you still got to
It's not an easy chance, is it?
Is it?
It's not an easy chance.
I disagree entirely. Norwich played good football at times, and it was good football, the leader, but Jamal Lewis still has to rifle that ball into the back of the net.
But that's going to happen sooner or later, Tags, isn't it? You know.
No, it's not.
No, I'm saying no.
I
mean, the Premier League.
If you're Kevin De Bruyne, yeah.
No, it's a good finish, but not that. But I'm just saying, sooner or later, they should have been one down before. That Duda should have scored.
Yeah.
And they opened up. You'd see it. Johnny Evans was trying to cover 2 players. I was like, oh, he's in here, and Duda should have done a lot better with the finish. Only a couple of minutes prior. What I'm saying is, you're not going to get finishes like that every game. I didn't mean that to, but situations are going to be converted if you give opposition.
Not from that angle.
Strikes.
Not from that angle.
It's
from
a 1 in 10 at least, isn't it?
1 in 10.
Well,
you reckon you could convert that 1 in 10?
Didn't say me.
No chance.
Yeah, but
that's not 1 in 10.
Well, 1 in 10. Well,
it won't happen again.
It
won't happen again.
I didn't think it was that good a goal. It was decent. I didn't think it was like a wonder strike.
Would you be slightly more concerned about the ease that Max Allen's put the ball in?
Yeah, and Ben Chilwell, like Jerry picked up on it while we were watching, but you know, in this instance, Ben, I'm sure he'll hold his hands up and say, actually, in hindsight, I could have done better. But he had a little nibble with his right foot, and he was trying to show him wide and put him off balance, and he got the march on him, Aaron's, but then he packed in. And as it happens, Aaron's pulled the ball back, didn't he? If Ben had actually carried on, even made, a forlorn attempt to try and make a block, just as a gesture as much as anything, he actually might have got contact on it, because it was pulled back, even though he'd been done.
I agree with you there.
And it just doesn't look good. It don't look good when you just, I'm done, and then do what you want with that, Aaron's.
He has still got a lot to do, Matty. I agree with Tags. I think he's got a lot to do.
I wasn't that surprised when the ball went in. I wasn't like, maybe it's, I don't know, but
I just think as well.
I understand what you're saying. I understand what the guy on social media is saying, that they were given time and space, but to actually, for that player, that's what I'm saying. If it was Ronaldo, it would have.
It's a great finish,
But for Jamal Lewis, still to pull that strike off from where he was, but to get the bend in the whip, the beat Schmeichel in the far post. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but these things happen in the Premier League, though, because I know the quality was lacking today, but sooner or later it's going to come to the fore.
Yeah, but you didn't expect it from...
No, I didn't expect it, but I wasn't shocked either.
You probably expect it from a Cantwell, if anybody would have the ability to pull that shot
whoever
off.
it is.
But I think the main discussion people are saying is that build-up bit. It's not. It's before it's got to Lewis. And
that's the way the game was, though. Especially both teams went out to win the game. There was no one sitting back and playing on the counter. Both teams knew they had to win the game. Both teams thought they could win the game tonight. Leicester definitely thought they could win the game, and rightly so. Norwich had to win the game, and the best way they know how to win the game is playing attacking football. And we've seen Norwich come to Leicester and play really well, and on that occasion, they scored first and Leicester equalised. It just didn't happen tonight again. Norwich are not a bad side. They didn't make any mistakes tonight at the back. Leicester scored, which we all thought was a genuine goal, only to be ruled out by VAR. But that's a decent Norwich team, and that's twice I've seen Norwich, and on both occasions they've been decent, and they're bottom of the league. I think Leicester didn't play like a team in third place. That's what's more concerning for me.
The big thing for me in that second half, Schmeichel had more to do than Tim Krul. He was the far. Not that either keeper was overly worked, but Kasper was.
Yeah, Kasper's made.
Oh,
sorry, I won't say world class save. He made a decent save then from Duda.
Made a couple of good saves, didn't he?
Different standards, Tags.
Well, I thought Kasper's save from Duda with a ball swerving, I thought that was a top class fingertip save. Top class.
I think that's Brendan's biggest concern is the lack of chances.
Yeah.
That's three games now.
Nobody's in the box.
No goals.
And getting into good areas. Yeah. So the person on the ball then, when he's on the ball, running towards a byline, he's got a picture in his head. When he looks up to see who's in the box, there's no one there. Changes that decision, the chop back, and that's where you get that person on Twitter saying backwards, sideways, because there's no options in the box. And I think that is a big
because we said,
concern.
Didn't we? There was a few balls going in, a few high balls going in, and we sort of turned to each other and said, never going to score from a high cross.
They haven't done for a long while, from memory.
Yeah. And I can only imagine in that Norwich dressing room before the game, when you get the team sheets in before an hour before kick-off, and there's no Vardy on the bench even, I bet they're like, hey, come on, we've got a proper chance here now. Without their main man, we can maybe play higher than the pitch than what we sort of anticipated with him in the side, which would have meant maybe a little bit lack of space for the Leicester City midfielders, for example, Maddison, who never really got involved in the game.
He kept dropping deeper and deeper, doesn't he?
And if you're playing against him, that's where you want him to have it.
Big time. Yeah. You don't want him on the half-turn receiving the ball
no chance.
in between the lines, because that's where he's at his most dangerous. And as the second half went on, he was kept creeping back towards the halfway line. And as Ewan says, if I'm a centre half or a defensive midfielder, I'm rubbing my hands at Maddison picking the ball up on the halfway line, because I know he can't hurt me from there.
Let's bring Tony back in from Carrow Road, of course. Tony, you mentioned no Vardy there, but actually with Vardy in or out of the team, that's no goals in 3 games for Leicester City. And when you're going through that run as a striker and in terms of the attacking side of your game, how difficult is it mentally to get yourself back, and what are you working on to try and put things right?
I think it's something that the team's got to work on. I'm listening to all what the boys are saying, and I agree with a lot of it, but it's hard to put your finger on it because they're not necessarily playing that bad, Leicester. That's the thing. They've been in the game, and it was actually quite a decent game to watch. You was always waiting for that first goal to go in. I agree with Tags. It was a wonderful finish. I was right behind it, and technically, I don't think he'll ever hit a better goal than that. Right behind, I had the angle from not the one you see behind the goal, but I was behind the player, so I watched the swerve around Smike. It was an incredible goal.
Thank you, TC.
I'm trying to stick up for you, Tags. You know what I'm like.
Trying.
You were there. You seen it live. That's all that matters.
Yeah, no, it was an excellent
Elliot was
goal,
on his phone as well.
But you've also got to agree. They needed to work harder to stop the cross going in. Ricardo could get there. There's a lot of things, but there's just something that, whether it's a spark or I don't know, there's something missing. But you can come back to. I know we're probably going to discuss it in a minute, but you come back to the VAR incident. You go a goal up, and we all know as ex-players what a sort of bonus that is, and what a thrill that gives you, and the lift it gives you, and everything. And with Leicester 1 up, Norwich would then have to have taken the game to Leicester, at which point they then could have hit him on the counter-attack, which is, as we know, is what they're better at than trying to break down the team. So, that was a huge turning moment. I'm not making excuses, but that was a huge turning moment in this football match.
Tony, we're seeing the reverse here when Tottenham came to King Power Stadium, and Tottenham were 1-0 up, and they scored a goal, and they go 2-0 up, and that was game over. And VAR ruled it out, and Tottenham just sunk like a lead balloon.
Yeah.
And Leicester turned around and scored 2 goals and won the game. And I think maybe Iheanacho's disallowed goal might have had some burn. And I'll even go back to the goal where the point that Matt picked up on when Chilwell just gave it up when Aarons got past him. Whereas in the first half, when Aarons got past Chilwell and tried to get a cross in, Ben got back, stuck a foot out and put it away for a corner. But for the goal, he just totally gave it up once Aarons got round him. And I'm wondering whether or not that was
It can have an effect.
Yeah,
it can do, but it shouldn't do.
No, I know.
It shouldn't do, but you can't use it as excuse. And so if Brendan gets asked that question afterwards, he'll say, no, we prepare for that. Because people know about the emotional...
I'm not trying to make an excuse.
I'm
just saying, you look at the first half when Aarons went round Chilwell got back, ball went out for a corner. Second half, Aarons gets round Chilwell stops.
But, I mean, I know it's natural sort of human emotion, but you've got to come to terms with it these days. The rules are what they are. And, you know, you can't go, it's a bit of a blow, isn't it? That's unlucky, or that's harsh. You know, that happens in football in all sorts of instances anyway, but it could well have an effect. It does. It's a reprieve, massive one, isn't it, for the conceding team in this instance, Norwich, and then they're thinking Leicester probably win that game if Iheanacho's goal stands.
Mate, I was just going to come in and listen. You know, I know you boys will discuss it now. It was a massive, massive turning point in the game. If they go a goal up, you could argue Leicester go on and win the game. But I also think it's still worth making a point and putting things in perspective. Leicester are still third in the league. They're still 9 points clear of Man United. And yes, it was a poor result, but you've got to keep it in perspective. But these boys have got to pick themselves up for the really important games that are coming up. FA Cup and some really important league games, and they can't throw away the season now. It's been such a great season, and for Leicester not to finish in the top 4 would be much more of a disaster than anything else. But if that goal goes in, the VAR, which it's proper doing my head. I agree with Tags. You know, you
can't be bothered with it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the stupid part about it is that if Iheanacho, if he unintentionally handles the ball in his own penalty area, that's not a penalty. And yet, when it's going the other way and you're trying to encourage goals, they disallow the goal. It's complete reverse of what it should be. You know, the rules need changing. It's not VAR's fault. It's the rules that need changing. And hopefully that'll happen at the end of the season. And
that's not to say that Iheanacho still had a lot of work to do before it ended up in the back.
It was a brilliant goal, Tag. So I was behind that one as well. It was a fantastic goal.
Did you put on your posh voice then, to Iheanacho?
No, I haven't got a posh voice, Matt. You know, you
just
can't
take
the London out of the boy. Iheanacho, yes.
Very stylish, son. Very stylish.
Talking of Iheanacho, we will hear from him very shortly here on LCFC Radio, and also hopefully hear from Brendan Rodgers as well. But first, if you're just joining us tonight, here's what happened at Carrow Road.
Friday night football live from a scorching Carrow Road as Leicester City meets Norwich, and we're underway in the Premier League this Friday evening. That's a better ball, it's a free header, it's straight to Kasper Schmeichel. Ben Godfrey though might think he could have put Norwich one up. His pass has fallen here kindly to Duda, onto Pukki, big chance, big block from Chakla Soinchuk. Wow. Timo Pukki had the opportunity there to put Norwich 1-0 up.
What a chance that was.
He's out on the right-hand side. Here's Ricardo. Oh, Pratt! Great save at the near post, was it?
I think it hit the post.
Or did it hit the post?
I think it hit the post, yeah. The referee's given a goal kick. I think
Barnes plays it down the line to Perez, who swivels brilliantly in the box. Perez and shoots. And it's blocked by Hanley. And out for a corner, but great Leicester pressure.
Yeah, unlucky again, Perez. His ball to Barnes is behind him. It should have been in front of him.
Maddison raises his left arm. Here he comes, right-footed. It's a good-looking ball. It's Evans. It's a free header. And it's from 8 yards straight to Tim Krul with Iheanacho lurking around. It's another half chance for Leicester. It's still 0-0. And it actually goes all the way to Hamza Chowdhury in the right-back position. And there is the half-time whistle. Well, it's tight. It's another Premier League battle that Leicester are involved in. Onto Iheanacho. Iheanacho, edge of the box, shoots, brilliant! Oh, Kelechi Iheanacho with a stunner has put Leicester City ahead. Fantastic! kick. It was going to take something special to break the deadlock, and Kelechi Iheanacho has delivered 3 minutes into the second half.
Listen, I want the goal to stand, and I think it was a fantastic goal, but why does it take so long? What are they looking at? Why do they need 3-4 minutes? He's going to disallow it. Yeah, there we go.
Disallowed goal. And no one in the stadium knows why. Chilwell plays it down the line for Harvey Barnes. Leicester are all over Norwich here. Can they get the goal? Chilwell crosses in towards the far post, and Perez, who heads wide. Massive chance for Ayoze Perez. Somehow it's still 0-0. It's shifted to the right, and Duda shoots. Kasper Schmeichel produces a sensational stop to tip it over the crossbar. That's as close as Norwich have come. 0-0, 61 minutes gone. To Aaron's the right back, he's gone beyond Chilwell. He's clipped it into the far post, no one there. Comes through to Lewis, who controls it and shoots and scores. Oh, it's a fantastic goal from Jamal Lewis. And Norwich strike first with 20 minutes left. Carrow Road are up, and the Premier League bottom club lead Leicester by a goal to 0. Here comes the throw. Craig Pawson blows his full-time whistle. And the cheers are for Norwich. A big boost to their survival hopes. It's going to take a miracle to step up. But they have beaten Leicester City tonight.
There we go. That's how things finished at Carrow Road. A disappointing one for Leicester City. Tony Cottee is still in the ground at Norwich. So final thoughts before we let you go. How do Leicester City get out of this slump, Tony?
I don't think there's an easy answer, but the one thing I know throughout my career is when you go through dips as an individual and as a team, the only way, as far as I know, is to work harder. And they've got to work harder in training. They've certainly got to work harder in the matches. And I think from a technical point of view, and certainly in terms of creating chances and putting the chances away, they've got to work harder in that final third. Lots of shooting practice and crossing practice, and just try and get that final ball right, because that's what's missing. You know, in terms of passing, you know, little 1-2s, little pretty patterns of play, switching the ball. There's absolutely nothing wrong, really, to a degree, up until the last third. But once they get to the last third, there seems a lack of ideas, and certainly a lack of penetration in terms of, like, you know, really hurting the opposition. And I think that's a real worry. But they've just got to get their heads down. They've got to work hard. They've got some fantastic games coming up where they can look forward to and hopefully get the results. And as I said earlier, just keep it in perspective. They're still in that Champions League place.
There we go, Tony Cottee at Carrow Road. Thank you very much. Have a safe
Cheers,
trip
boys.
back.
See you, Tony.
Take care, mate.
See you soon.
So Tony mentions they're working hard. For Leicester, is that fair to say that it weren't working hard? Because it was more a case of, it seemed more they were a bit devoid of ideas.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't think it's about working hard. It's about giving some of the players on the pitch tonight direction. And sometimes that just means speaking to them and finding out what's going on. I think it's more about the mental side rather than the physical side. There's obviously issues on the pitch. We can all see it with certain players. Whether it's a lack of confidence, a lack of direction, a lack of cohesion between certain players in the team with the other players in the team, then there's just something not quite gelling at the minute. You know, Tony said they didn't play bad, but we ain't. The lasting thing there is we didn't see the cutting edge again. We've seen it once and the goal was disallowed against the bottom team, third against 20th. And we didn't see that cutting edge football that we have seen. And Tony's right, there's no need to panic, but you're starting to ask questions now. What's wrong? Because we haven't seen, I can't remember the last time Leicester won a game. But it's a few games now, isn't it? Well,
They'd won 1 in 14 before tonight.
Yeah, that just shows you how many games it has been.
I mean, they've won 4 all season.
Who's that? Norwich?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean Leicester.
Sorry.
The last time since Leicester won.
Oh, West Ham.
West Ham, yeah. I thought it was.
Yeah.
But so I think everyone's just desperate, and I include the players and the management. Sometimes a scrappy 1-0 or a 2-1 is the best way to get all that confidence, all that momentum back in the squad. But some people will be thinking, where's that coming from? where is the next one coming from? And that's the biggest issue.
Tags, I watched that game here with you, the West Ham one. And I think the difference between that game then and this one tonight is Leicester squeezed so high to start off with. They pressed from the front, they pressed high, they won the ball back. Didn't really do that tonight.
I'm wondering whether or
not
not...
as intense as it used to be, is
no.
it?
Yeah, but I'm wondering whether that's a ploy from Brendan,
Right.
because the players have put so much into the season by doing that, and now they're beginning to feel it. You know, it's very, very difficult to go through a whole season playing that style of football, especially when you're younger, because you haven't got miles in your legs. You don't manage the game properly when you're a younger player. You can talk about Liverpool doing it, but Liverpool are a lot more experienced team. They know exactly when to do it and when not to do it. And I'm just wondering whether or not Brendan's made it an actual ploy to just step off the gas as regards to closing teams down.
So I'm looking at next 3 home games, Villa, Brighton and Palace. I think you would expect Leicester to start like they did against West Ham against those 3. I really do.
Without doubt.
You know, no sitting back, no letting them have their own half to play the ball and keep it between the defence and midfield. You've got to...
Absolutely. I think getting Wilfred and Ndidi back on the pitch tonight will play a massive part in that. And obviously getting Jimmy Vardy back on the pitch.
At home, that's going to be a big game next week, isn't it? At home against Villa. See what happens on Sunday in the Carabao Cup final. If it goes the way we expect, you know, that might be just the fixture that Leicester need.
Let's go back to Carrow Road. He thought he had given Leicester City the lead, only for it to be scrapped out by VAR. Let's hear from Kelechi Iheanacho.
Kelechi, a bitterly disappointing evening.
Yeah, it was disappointing evening, especially for us. Shouldn't have lost this game, but unfortunately it happened, so we should do more. And next games we should concentrate and focus and work really hard, make sure we get the points that we need.
What's your assessment on the disallowed goal?
Obviously, that wasn't enough from VAR, but I haven't watched the replay, and I thought he hit the defender's shoulder, but I wasn't sure he hit my hand. So, but if that's the rules, so there's nothing we can do about it. We just move on.
How disappointing is it as a player when you see the referee blow up for a free kick?
It's disappointing. It's disappointing, and it's disappointing for us. But as I said before, we just move on to the next one and make sure we get the points that we need.
Just finally, there are a lot more games to play, aren't there? There's an awful lot of football still to be played this season.
Of course, there is a lot, but at this point, there is not a lot because we've got 10 games left and a few FA Cups, and we need to be focused and need to work hard and get our mentality right and make sure we get the points that we need.
There we go, Kelechi Iheanacho talking to LCFC Radio's Dan Bates there. Hopefully we'll hear from Brendan Rodgers very soon on the programme as well. Ian's been in touch again. I think I'm in the bad books with Jerry. Sorry, but what I meant was our defence took an age to shut that world-class goal down. Ian, you don't need to... He's just in a mood. He's just in a mood because they lost. Don't worry about it, Ian. It's all right.
Yeah, we're all in a mood.
Kelechi Iheanacho, they're obviously talking about that decision. He said, I haven't seen a replay. But you know, don't you? When you're playing, you would know if you've handballed it. If you've,
I mean, it's touched his hand. It's brushed his hand as it's come off Godfrey's arm. So the initial first contact with the arm came from Godfrey.
There's one angle, and it looks like Godfrey's arm, and then it looks like it's just missed Iheanacho, and then hit his midriff. But you see another angle. Even then, you think it was a brush. Yeah.
But he doesn't gain any advantage.
Crazy.
And it's not as if he's in the 6-yard box and it's brushed his hand.
And it's Godfrey's arm that's put it onto Iheanacho's hand.
Yeah.
You know, where's the sense in that?
I've only seen one worse than it this season. That was Declan Rice's disallowed goal for West Ham against Sheffield United. Yeah. And that was just crazy, where the guy comes in and heads it against his arm and it's disallowed. And that's exactly the scenario what's happened tonight. Godfrey's handed it onto his hand. It's just...
Where's the sense?
Anyway, I'm not getting involved.
There's nothing we can do.
And Jerry's
the rule.
But I do think...
Everyone agrees the rules.
It's not time to panic. It's not. I think the club's still in a magnificent
without a
position.
doubt.
With 10 games to go, and anybody said you're going to be,
unit.
7 points clear of. Is it 7 points clear of Chelsea?
Yeah.
9 points clear of.
I'm reacting like the players are reacting in the dressing room. They'll all be disappointed, devastated with the result. But then, they'll go home, they'll go over the game in their heads, and they'll wake up and go, right, let's go again, boys.
And that's what you got to do. You can't dwell on it.
Hopefully that's how they react. That's how they should.
Norwich are within 4 now. Can this be the greatest escape?
that will do them the world of good, won't it? A win against a side in third who had a tremendous season up to now.
If they're the worst team in the league, they're not bad, have they?
No,
really?
They are pleasing on the eye.
Yeah,
they are. They've struggled to score goals. They've conceded too many.
And they didn't make any mistakes tonight.
But they have got away with one.
Yeah,
they have got away with one.
Godfrey did make a mistake. He should have cleared the ball. He didn't. Iheanacho got round, bang, goal.
But teams before, like who've been cut adrift, or groups of teams, excuse me, with the Premier League, they've looked woeful, haven't they?
Yeah.
And by this stage of the season, most of them have capitulated.
Yeah, they're not the worst team I've seen.
They're a competent side. They are a competent. They're good to watch. I think they have got some tough games in the next 3 or 4. They've got to play Spurs, Sheffield. But if they can sort of play like they did tonight and defend for long periods like they did and stop shots on Tim Krul's goal as they did tonight against Leicester, then they have given themselves an opportunity to get out of trouble.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting. Obviously, Brighton take on Crystal Palace tomorrow lunchtime. West Ham host Southampton. Watford do have league leaders Liverpool going to Vicarage Road, but they'll all have been watching tonight thinking, right, we need to put in a performance over this weekend. We'll talk more about some of the games that are still to come this weekend very shortly, but we can head back to Carrow Road and hear from the manager, Brendan Rodgers.
Brendan, what's the verdict after that?
Naturally disappointed. I don't think we deserved to lose the game. However, we didn't show enough quality in the final third of the pitch to make the breakthrough. We had enough attempts on goal. We had 19 shots, but only 4 on target. So that tells you that little bit of quality in the final third wasn't quite there. And then we are disappointed with the goal we concede, because the fullback should never be in that much space free to get his strike in. Great strike through the bodies into the corner, but we shouldn't concede a goal like that. The VAR goal was disappointing because I felt we were deserving of that at that stage of the game. Not sure what the ruling is, but somehow it was disallowed, even though both players unintentionally handballed. So yeah, it didn't work for us.
I know that there have been moments through VAR that have gone both for and against Leicester this season, but I think the general consensus is that was a very harsh overruling of the goal.
Yeah, and I think you can see from their players they weren't quite expecting it either, and that would have put us in a great position and a deserving position in the game. We had good rhythm at that point. It was a fantastic finish, and we then could go and play with that confidence. But it didn't come, so there's nothing that we can do.
Obviously, perspective is a big thing. I think any Leicester fan would have taken this position with 10 games in the Premier League to go. So there's still an awful lot to play for, isn't there?
Yeah. No, we're still in a great position, but we can't dance around the truth either. We in this little last period we haven't been to our level, so we need to find that level again and finish this season as strong as we can, and just go into the next game and do as best we can.
Change of competition, of course. Birmingham City on Wednesday up next in the FA Cup.
Yeah, we should look forward to that. It's a competition that I've always said we want to do well in the cups. Got to one semi-final, and we have a chance to get to a quarter-final. So tough game again, but we need to take our opportunities if we're going to get through.
Brendan Rodgers there talking to LCFC Radio's Dan Bates after tonight's disappointing defeat against Norwich. Ian's been in touch about the VAR decision. Handball rule is not fit for purpose, neither is the offside rule. Need to go back to favouring the strikers for football's sake. Didn't deserve a result today though.
Is that the same Ian?
No, different. That's different. Different man. Different man.
I was going to say I totally agree with you.
Yeah. Different Ian on
Ian
that
Acho,
occasion.
that was.
There you go. Very good. Talking about favouring strikers, Brendan Rodgers says there about quality going forward. Had all these shots, haven't hit the target. If you were in that kind of run of form and you weren't finding your shooting boots, is it a case you go on the training ground and you're literally just having loads of time in front of goal, trying to get your confidence back?
That's one thing you do.
I don't think that helps.
I think the other thing you do is you keep going into the right areas in the box, because a ball will drop at your feet, and then you have to be there to put it away. What you can't do is hide, not go into certain areas in the penalty box just in case it comes to you. You know, you have to be brave. You're there. You get paid to score goals. And it is a blip. That all it is, and it'll just take one goal to kickstart everything again.
Is it a bit like what you were saying at half time about the whole reactive versus proactive approach?
Yeah, I think when you listen to Brendan's post-match interview, he's saying you can't dance around the truth. They haven't been at that level that they set earlier on in the season for some time. Now, that is a mental condition. That's a mental attitude. I'm not saying they've got a bad attitude and they don't want to win, of course they do. But exactly what Ewan's talking about getting into the box, making the right runs, doing all the right things that got you to third or second in the league, they've stopped doing that. How do you get them back doing that? It doesn't mean going out and shooting. That's the last thing you need to do. It's about having a collective, I don't know, series of meetings, preparing for the next game as normal, taking the pressure right off the players, and hoping and praying that something goes right for you in a game of football, i.e. the game against Birmingham this midweek. But for me, it's not about the physical side. It's all about some players, to me tonight, looked as if they lacked confidence. Some players, to me tonight, looked as if they lacked direction. That's what needs sorting out. How do you sort that out? That's the manager's and his coaching staff's job to try and get right. Now, it might be a series of training sessions that have no pressure whatsoever or have no consequence on the game that's coming up. It might be, let's forget about football for a minute and just go out and have a bit of fun. And I know that might sound strange to some people, but sometimes the pressure can get that great in football that some players can't handle it. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but that's a scenario that does occur in football. And tonight what I seen was some players at certain stages in the game lacking confidence.
As Jerry mentioned there, Birmingham next up in the FA Cup for Leicester. That's not going to be an easy game, but you think Leicester will be looking at that game thinking, right, this is the one where we want a few things to go right for us and put in a performance that kind of mimics what we were doing early season.
That being the intention, whether it becomes a reality or not is another matter, isn't it? I'm only just dealing with the aftermath of what's happened tonight, but you would imagine it's going to be a tight, closely fought game. Birmingham are going to come here, big support, big opportunity, big occasion for them. You would imagine, I suppose, ordinarily in this sort of situation, it's a very tight game, to and fro in. The Premier League team scrape through. It's like, I don't envisage Leicester, with the way their form's been of late compared to Birmingham's, and the whole scenario considered, that Leicester will go and win it 4-5 and a canter. It's not going. That might have happened 4 months ago. They're going to have to be properly on their game, Leicester, to make sure there's not an upset. But having said that, they'll go into the game still favourites, despite their run. They're at home. They're the Premier League team. They know what they're capable of if they can string things together. But so it's a tricky tie. It's a trickier tie now than it was when the balls first come out the hat, isn't it?
Brendan Rodgers knows exactly what he's dealing with right now. And he's totally right. There's no need to panic. There's no need for everyone to start, climbing the walls or, scraping their fingernails down the chalkboard. But there's a window of opportunity for him to get out of this, and that means the cup game and maybe the next 2/3 league games against opposition, you would expect Leicester to pick some positive results up. If nothing happens in those 4 games, then you come into a different scenario. And I'm looking forward here. I'm not looking at the next game. I'm not trying to be the doomsday, sayer. But all I'm saying is, you can tell that Leicester just aren't hitting the high notes that they were earlier in the season, and that's a bit of a concern for Brendan. You hear it in his post-match interview, and we've all been there as players when nothing seems to go right, no matter how hard you try. So it's not lack of effort, stuff like that, but there is a window of opportunity before. Me and Matt were through it with Leicester when we were top 6 all season, and then the last 8 games we just fell off a cliff. So I've been there.
We ended up 14th.
Yeah. We got the quarterfinals of the Cup, got put out by Wycombe, never won another game. The week before the Wycombe game, we beat Liverpool 2-0 here, or at Filbert Street. 5th place in the Premier League with 9-10 games ago, whatever it was. Probably less than that. What was less than that because it was quarterfinals of the Cup. After that, never won another game. So I've been there. I know how it feels. And that's a scenario that Brendan is not in yet, but that's what he's facing come the next 3-4 games if nothing changes.
You mentioned that intensity from the start that you saw at West Ham, and the Birmingham game is that ideal opportunity to say, right, we are the Premier League team, we are the home side here, we are going to dominate this game.
And that's how Leicester should go into the game. Home draw against a team from a lower division. Birmingham haven't really pulled up any trees in the Championship. I think they're in the bottom half. I think it is the ideal game to get over this little hiccup, blip, whatever you want to call it, that Leicester are in at the minute. Who will he go with a starting 11? I would have thought he'll go strong. 2 games from a semi-final at Wembley.
And he's no game until the following Monday.
No, and he has taken the Cup seriously.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's used to winning things at Celtic, up in Scotland, and he will see this opportunity as a good one to get to a semi-final, maybe a final.
Yeah, of course, they were in a semi-final of the League Cup. That final takes place on Sunday with Aston Villa coming up against Manchester City. Can you see any shocks there?
No, not really. Not the way things have gone for Man City. I mean, the win here, the win in the week against Real Madrid, of all people, away from home. You fear for Villa, really, don't you? And it'll be a weird scenario, really, and a weird problem for manager Dean Smith to deal with, because he's going into a cup final, once in a career time, possibly opportunity, and thinking, how do we approach this? How does he approach that? Excuse me, that individual game? I think there's only one way. You just got to try and make it as scrappy as possible, haven't you? But then he's got. I suppose it's what is it? 8 days down the line, so it's a little way, isn't it? But he's thinking a little bit about the Leicester, because in some ways that's the bigger game in the grander scheme of things.
Well, the fact that Norwich have picked up a result today, who knows what's going to happen?
Well, they're not playing this weekend, so it's that bit closer and
pressure.
No, Norwich go and nick a win. I don't know. I'm guessing they're playing next Saturday. They nick a win, then you're
pressure.
You're not playing till Monday night. Yeah, exactly.
People do strange things under pressure.
But I'm thinking
some people do strange things anyway.
I'm thinking of your last few games. Chelsea here probably should have won the game.
Yeah.
Not a million miles off, are they?
No. You've gone to Wolves, a tough place to go.
Yeah.
Come back with a really good result. 0-0, kept a clean sheet. Okay, couldn't score. On another day, could have got a point against Man City. Mm-hmm. Jamie goes through early doors, puts that ball away. It's a different story. So it's not as if the club's a million miles away. It's not as if you've fallen right off the edge of a cliff.
No.
And that's why Villa could be a very good.
Do you think this is all?
But that's the difference between winning and losing is the width of that line I've just drawn on.
Tags, how much of an effect do you think losing to Villa in the second leg, in the manner that Leicester did, has impacted that squad?
Well, people have been saying that Leicester haven't played that well since Norwich. came to King Power Stadium.
Well, that was December 14th or something like that as well.
There you go. So
generally, they've had decent performances.
Yeah,
like saying the West
I'm not
Ham,
saying.
Chelsea,
I'm not saying. I'm on about
West Ham away.
people I speak to, fans I speak to. That's the game they're saying. Well, we haven't played well since.
Haven't been themselves since then.
Yeah, and obviously they beat West Ham. West Ham's the last game they won.
Because you went up to Newcastle and won 3-0 comfortable.
Yeah,
win
no,
up there,
well,
didn't you?
yeah, that was
quite
a
emphatic.
Yeah.
that was a walk in the park.
Yeah.
But
they only had 4
listen,
men.
obviously it will do. Obviously it will have an effect, and just being nearly against Chelsea, the result at Wolves would have been a confidence booster without a doubt away at Wolves. And then last week, the disappointment of not getting something out of that game will override the actual defeat against Man City because of the injustice of the result, of the way the result was won. And sometimes that's worse than the actual result itself. It affects players. And I go back to the disallowed goal tonight. That might have had a bigger impact than the actual result because of the injustice that surrounds that disallowed goal. And that can affect players more than actually losing a game. So you have to take all these things into consideration. I'm not making excuses, but I'm trying to understand why people don't do what they're meant to do, or why they do things that we haven't seen from them for a long, long time.
I'm trying to understand what you're on about there. Got confused halfway through.
Did you?
Good job you're not coaching me, son.
Something else that will spur the Leicester players on is
All right.
seeing that League Cup final. Obviously, they know how close they were, and they're going to see that on Sunday. I think, especially going into the Birmingham game, that should have been us.
Yeah,
and
no,
now
absolutely.
We need to do it in the FA Cup.
Absolutely. Matt,
Yeah.
go on.
No, I was just listening there. I was watching the clock tick by. It's nearly finished, haven't we? I want to go home. It hasn't been a good night. I'm tired. I don't want to go home after a defeat. But no, you would like to think that will spur them on. You know, seeing what's happening this weekend, it would have been nice to at least been part of that and everything that goes with a cup final appearance. But hopefully they'll take it out on Birmingham in the week.
There we go. Right. Thank you so much, gents, for your time today. To Matt, to Jerry, and to Ewan as well.
Birmingham accent.
That wasn't an answer.
That's when you know.
It's time to go home.
I was drifting. It's late, man.
So Leicester get a disappointing result against Norwich, but the plus side, you got a whole weekend to yourselves. Enjoy it, and we'll see you next week.